It's all great.
Yeah. Now, I also see the mute here button.
Okay.
And there's a mute button right on top,
Got
so
it.
it's between these two.
Okay, thank you.
All right, see you later.
Yeah.
Right, you almost need someone. Yeah, you could have a junior person who just was. Yeah, Ruthann is a good team. Two tries. Oh, let's see. Let's write down. You know, that's true. Rose is in Carroll Garden. She has an apartment we're working on President Street. So that's we're still on Dean Street. So she's on. Let's look.
Well, that's my oldest is.
Oh, congratulations. How about that? Yikes. That's big. And then Ginger, we just had a Zoom with Ginger last night, our younger one. She's in Jackson, Wyoming. She works for kind of an ad agency marketing firm called Material. She works remotely.
Oh.
She works remotely for a company kind of based, well, it's pretty global. Her boss is here in New York. Called Material, and she does market research and stuff like tech clients. But anyway, she does it all remotely from Jackson, Wyoming, where she does a lot of snowboarding. And yesterday, cross country skiing, there was only 14 and she didn't wear a hat.
I heard it's very hard to find housing.
Yeah.
I was there one time and my taxi driver was asking about housing and he told me like there is no workforce housing anywhere.
She
in
shares a
town.
place pretty much remote.
Yeah.
But you know, when you see something that's what you do, and
And we get to live in Jackson.
and you work a few hours a month on the mountain, you get a pass. And she does enough work in like the lift ticket office to drive for free.
When I was in school, I don't know why I didn't do something like that.
Yeah.
I do it now. I don't know. I went to law school, immediately deferred
Mm-hmm. Sounds like fun. Yeah, no, it sounds like fun. So we should start. We have enough people. So, hey. Mike's, I came up in the elevator. Hey, B.
The mics.
Oh, the mic. How are you?
I'm good.
Nice
How
to
are
see
you?
Fantastic. Nice to see you.
Likewise.
Ruthann, when are we going to have a remote meeting where we all go to Syracuse? We need to have a board meeting in downtown Syracuse.
Let's do it in August when we go to the state fair.
There you go.
There you go. That works.
Yeah, do it, right? Go see a baby cow born or whatever you do.
Yeah, you know, go see the butter sculpture.
And the butter sculpture and drink fresh milk and I mean so many things. How many times do you go to the state fair?
That chocolate milk is the best.
Right?
Yeah, that chocolate milk is the best.
Yeah, I mean, I think maybe we should contemplate a August, some sort of meeting to overlap with the state fair. I think it could be a good.
Yeah.
That's a great idea.
I mean,
It's a
probably not
great
that
idea. I love it.
Do we have everyone for four? People for four?
Yes, we do.
Okay, great. We have a
I
lot.
mean, doesn't the governor come? Don't you all come with the governor one day?
Yes, we usually do come. It's very fun. I love the state fair. I didn't go last year, but we'll take your kids. I did before the pandemic. We went, and then in the pandemic still.
But we have to find a better placement for your organization, for this agency. You're kind of stuck in the, in a hard to find spot.
At the state fair.
Yeah. I had to hunt you down. I had to really look for you.
Yeah, we probably don't get prime billing like some of the other agencies do, but we can work on that. No, it's not you. It's everybody. Good morning.
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Are you doing today?
I am good, but it is like so. Okay.
I read last night. I'm driving and this whole drop. And it's like, oh, that's my boss.
It was good art. It was a pretty good article.
I almost every time I pick up any newspaper.
Yeah.
It's not universal. That's why
Yeah.
Which governs what we do. So, but again, the mental concept, let's think about another way to do it.
But yeah, my kids,
The two of us,
getting a
you and I can.
one she'll say, listening to them.
Yeah.
Like nice salaries. My older one is married. She does not want to working. Prices are crazy.
She's in New York or somewhere else?
Both of them, both of the ones that are working. And they're both in Prospect Heights.
Oh,
Like total,
that's nice.
yes, it's like totally very SMI. So they're,
Nice.
yeah. We live for that, just wait. I didn't really expect that to happen. My sister, raised her kids in Baltimore. Two older ones relocated to Florida, like went to college. And then her youngest worked at DC after college.
But I'm also thinking.
My sister and her husband in Baltimore, no one's ever been there.
Yeah.
No one.
Yeah, Baltimore's a little rough. I mean, I love Baltimore, but like, you have to really love it to want to be there.
But that's just
But, you know,
an
it's
encumbrance of the
actually kind of a
open
nice
law.
thing, the great new Walters Museum is a great new, crab, great food. It's,
Yep.
you know, kind of industrial, small city that, I think it's a kind of a diamond in the rough.
Yeah,
A little bit like
it's
Philadelphia.
like Philly, yeah,
Like Philly was.
yeah.
Oh, no.
Downtown has just changed, that's the only thing.
But it's a nice, you know, it's a such a, and actually what they've done there on commuter, they've really made it like a better community by putting in better commuter rail between DC and Baltimore.
Ken, I think
Should we
you can,
start?
yeah, marshal us whenever you're ready.
All right, let's do some marshalling. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Even if,
Gavel.
gavel, even if Alex isn't here, maybe, oh, Alex is here. Alex is on the WebEx. We have figured out, Diana has figured out that we have a quorum so we can start.
Alex,
Gallery, we're going to start now, thank you. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to our February meeting. I'm going to turn things over to Diana so she can take care of the formalities that initiate the proceedings. Good morning, Diana.
Good morning, Ken. Good morning, everybody. I note that Jesse Olzak, representing the acting director of the Division of the Budget, and Eric Mostert, representing the Commission of Taxation and Finance, are participating in the meeting via video conference from New York State Division of Budget Conference Center at the Capitol Building, Room 131 in Albany, and that Bethaida Gonzalez is participating from the Syracuse Regional Office, 620 Erie Boulevard, Suite 312. Notice of these locations has been made public, and the public has the right to attend and observe the proceedings from these locations. I will ask for motions and seconds to call to order the meetings of the agencies and of the various committees. I ask for a motion to open the HFA, HTFC, and AHC meetings. Second?
Second.
Thank you. I will now ask for individual votes from each HFA, HTFC, AHC board member. Chairman Adams,
Present,
Commissioner Visnakis,
or aye. What do you want?
Aye.
What should I say?
I'm gonna go aye.
I give you a choice.
Okay, I'll
America,
do
freedom
aye.
of choice.
Aye, aye.
Mr. Olzak,
Aye.
Mr. Mostert,
Aye.
Ms. McGowan, Mr. McIntyre, Ms. Gonzalez.
Aye.
I ask for a motion for SONYMA.
Motion.
Second.
Excellent. I will now ask for individual votes for each SONYMA board member.
Aye.
Ken,
Aye.
Ruth Ann,
Aye.
did I get everybody?
Did you need them all at once? I don't know if you were calling us.
No,
Sorry.
whatever. Well, I got everybody. Everybody's here. Absent objections, I will accept the previous votes of the chairman, Mr. Olzak, Commissioner Visnakis, and Ms. Gonzalez. So I have the others. I ask for a motion for the SONYMA Mortgage Insurance Committee.
Aye.
Second.
Or so moved.
Second.
Okay. I will now ask for individual votes for each SONYMA Mortgage Insurance Committee member.
Aye.
Okay. Absent objections, I will accept the previous votes of the chairman, Mr. Olzak, Commissioner Visnakis, and Mr. Capel. I will ask for a motion for the HTFC Governance Committee.
So moved.
I will, second.
I'm not
Second.
on that.
Great.
You have to be.
I now ask for individual votes from each HTFC Governance Committee member.
Aye.
Aye.
Absent objections, I will accept the previous votes of the chairman, Mr. Olzak, and Mr. Mostert. The meetings of the various boards and of the Governance Committee are officially open. As items are presented to each board and committee throughout today's meetings, these motions and seconds will be used unless specific items call for a different vote or unless any board member or director wishes to record his or her vote differently. I hope everyone sees an improvement from the way we did this last time.
Very smooth. Thank you, Diana. You saved us a few minutes, which is good. We can catch up. I'm pleased to turn things over to Ruth Ann Visnakis, our president, commissioner, leader.
Hi, good morning, everyone. It's been a busy few weeks since we last met, including the governor unveiling her executive budget proposal with additional details on the housing compact. It's been busy for us because since that has come out, we have, myself as well as a team of folks, many of whom are sitting behind me, have been kind of on a whirlwind tour, I would say, meeting with elected officials, doing media interviews, doing roundtables, meeting with stakeholders, to explain the plan and its components, which, as we talked about before, sort of focus around statewide growth targets, transit-oriented development, and some regulatory and tax incentive initiatives. I think we're trying to further explain, when the governor obviously speaks about it in her speech, it's a couple minutes, and then the budget comes out and it's 10,000 pages. So there's a nice sort of explanation to be had that's somewhere in between those two versions of the plan. So, we are really laser focused, making sure that people understand what this is and that we are getting input and feedback. Because as we go into the budget negotiations, we want to make sure we understand where people have concerns and what are the ways that we can address those to make this something that can move forward. I think we feel very strongly that doing nothing is not an option and that the housing crisis is too severe. And so if there's parts of this plan that people don't like, then let's talk about how to make that better. So it's been very busy. I think we have additional events planned next week in Long Island, in Westchester, the week after in Buffalo, and I think Albany. Not to be understated, but also on March 1st, I'll do my budget testimony. So always a challenge and sort of interesting time to go up. And I think this year will be a very busy budget testimony, I suspect.
Good luck with that.
Given how much stuff is in the budget. Yes, I'm actually very late this year. Usually I go right at the beginning of February, and now I'm the last day of hearings. So let's see, let's talk about today. So we have several things on the board today. We're seeking approval for several major housing developments across the state, including Queens, Brooklyn, Buffalo, Rochester, and Hempstead. We have some authorizations for our Legacy Cities program, which is our program that works with land banks around the state to create homeownership opportunities. You'll see something in Kingston and in Syracuse. Crystal presents some CDBG awards for Hudson Valley, Finger Lakes, Western New York, and also a DRI award. As you know, these are oftentimes sort of smaller awards, but they are so essential to a lot of the small communities we work with around the state. So certainly love to be able to shine a spotlight on that work. And then also we will have our mission statements also again on the agenda this month, as we discussed during last month's meeting and in prior governance committee. The mission statements underscore sort of what we are tasked with as an agency and what you see coming before the board every month, and they hold us accountable for our work. There are a series of changes that were made as a result of the discussions last month, which I think are great, but we are we'll formalize that with you all and make sure that it's meeting everyone's goals. I'm going to just pause there because we have a lot on the agenda, and let's jump in.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you, Ruth Ann. And maybe, what's the date of our March meeting?
I believe it's the 9th.
So it'll be a week or so after you've given your budget testimony. Maybe in your report to us on March 9th, you can give us the highlights and tell us how it went. And
just the highlights?
Show, well, the bruises, the whatever you think is good to share.
I'd love to.
I mean, it's all public. It's a public hearing, of course, but for those of us that can't make it to Albany to see you in action.
Or tune in. So like
or tune in. It
Cool.
would be good to get an overview from you about that. Let's, pardon me?
I'm trying to figure, we say it's the 16th. For some reason, I think it's the 6th. I have it on my calendar as the 9th, but here we say it's the 16th.
I have it
It's
as
the
the 9th.
9th, yeah. It's the
That
9th.
changed.
It must have been
That's the
changed.
memo that went out in December.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the 9th. So.
Well, so we look forward to that. And again, good luck, with all seriousness, good in your very important testimony on March 1st. We're going to move to the board meetings and start with the presentation of items shared by HFA, AHC, SONYMA, and HTFC as we do sort of these multiple measures to advance projects. First, with the minutes. The minutes of the meetings held on January 26, 2023 shall be deemed approved, absent corrections from members or directors. Everybody okay with the minutes? Thank you. We'll now move to items requiring Mortgage Insurance Committee, SONYMA Board action, HFA Finance Program Committee, and HFA members action. So it's item number 2. And this is a project in Brooklyn, and I think Prospect Ethics Matters. This is two-part, right? So resolutions with the SONYMA Mortgage Insurance Committee, SONYMA Board, recommending and approving 100% mortgage insurance on an $18,750,000 HFA permanent first mortgage loan for Clarkson Estates, which is in Brooklyn, Kings County. Part B are resolutions of the HFA Finance and Program Committee and the HFA members recommending and authorizing the financing approval of $121,090,000 maximum fixed rate and or variable rate tax exempt or taxable bonds, and an amount not to exceed $61,219,124 in HFA subsidy funds. And in addition, an amount not to exceed $13,606,935 in Federal Housing Trust Fund Program loan funds, and an amount not to exceed $2,500,000 in NYSERDA Clean Energy Initiative funds for this project, which is again known as Clarkson Estates. This is part of the Vital Brooklyn initiative, started a number of years ago in Central Brooklyn, and it's called Site L, again, Brooklyn, Kings County. Mike is here to present the project. Good morning.
Good morning. This project comprises the construction of 328 units, all low-income units, including 164 supportive housing units and 30,000 square feet of community facility space. It's being developed by CAMBA, an experienced and well-regarded developer of low-income and supportive housing, primarily in Brooklyn. The insured loan amount is $56,600 per unit, which equals 8% of the project's total development cost of $727,000 per unit. And this will be the 4th loan that we have or will insure for entities controlled by CAMBA, with total exposure of $66 million.
Great, thank you, Mike.
Welcome.
You can jump in, Julie.
Okay. So as has been mentioned, this project is part of the Vital Brooklyn initiative. So we're very excited to be moving another one of these transactions to closing. This building is being built on what is currently a parking lot being used by the SUNY Downstate Health Science Center, or the Brooklyn Foundation. the foundation is really what we're calling it. So in this case, the land is also part of the contribution. It'll be disposed for $1 to the into the development. Yeah. So this site is located in central Brooklyn. It's actually right across the street from Kings County Hospital. It is well served by the 2 and 5 trains and several bus lines. As Mike mentioned, it's 100% affordable, serving families and individuals between 30 and 70% of AMI. It'll be an income average deal. Approximately half of those will be supportive units for youth aging out of foster care and formerly homeless families. Also, it looks like some set aside for formerly incarcerated individuals returning to the community. This will all be done under ESHI servicing contract with a very experienced developer, Canva. The site also includes a fairly significant community services hub, as was required by the RFP. This space will be operated and rented by an entity of Canva, where they will provide counseling, support services, job readiness, literacy, and other types of services. There's also a beautiful gym that's being built here with a basketball court that will be an important community center for young folks in this part of Brooklyn. The project is well supported by well leveraged by other financing sources, including $15 million from HHAP, Federal Home Loan Bank, a significant sponsor loan. And with that, I am happy to answer any questions about this project.
Julie, you get close to $200 million in loans and subsidies for this project if you can answer a trivia question.
I'll
The developer is Canva, which is an acronym for the original name of the organization,
Oh,
which is?
Church Avenue Merchants
Block.
Block Association.
Give her the
Thanks,
money.
Mike.
Well done.
It's a trivia question of yours that I actually knew the answer
And
to,
it's
Ken.
a short walk from Church Avenue, really, what, 4 blocks to Clarkson and to the project site. So it's kind of nice to see. Is this still Joanna Plestel?
It is.
Oh, my goodness.
It is.
Joanne
yeah.
going strong. Yeah, so when you look at who the developers are of these projects, you sort of, that to me just like, they're so good and so reliable. It's a great organization.
Yeah, they do amazing work
You know
in
the
Central
site.
Brooklyn.
I can speak to Canva.
Yeah.
When I was commissioner of New York City's Department of Business Services, that Canva was not doing this development at this point, but they were doing a lot of the other services, and it was a major business association in that part of Brooklyn. And so it's good to see that they have expanded their portfolio, as it were.
It's the same group.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
They're
Always good to
probably
get some
one of
good
our
news.
most well-capacitated not-for-profits that we do development with. Like, they're one of a handful that can do a deal of this
It's
scale.
a big project,
Yeah.
but it's a great site, really good, and that it's part of Vital Brooklyn's an important piece of this too.
Yeah.
Questions or comments from Mike or Julie?
Couple of
Dave.
observations
Mhm.
and a request. The observations are, and this goes across all the projects that we're reviewing today, is that it's interested to note the impact of inflation on the cost per unit, dramatic increase. And the other is, it also seems like there's a much larger equity contribution by the developers in each one of these cases. Am I mistaken in that? Or?
You are not mistaken. The increase in rates has had an impact, clearly. Also, we're dealing just with increase in construction and labor costs still, as we're coming out of pandemic times. So this is an example of a challenging negotiation to get to where we needed to be. But Canva really stepped up to the plate. They went to seek out more financing from HHAP to help us get there, and they're willing to bridge that, and so that we can get this thing across the finish line. Yeah.
The request is this. I'm one of those people that feels lost if I don't know where I am geographically. And I find when I'm reviewing these, I always have to go, at the very start, I have to go to the back to look at the map. And I wondered in today's, with today's technology, if you could insert a link to a Google map, kind of at the head of the review, so that we can see where it is right away.
Cool.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great suggestion.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And a Google Street View too.
What's that?
A street view of the site, like the site is
Yeah,
right now a parking
exactly.
garage. So if
Right.
you saw a Google Street View, right, really high resolution view of the current, that's just kind of a good show and tell. Okay, now it's a garage. It's going to become this, 9-story elevated affordable housing
Right.
project. And then from above, it's the location, so you would see where this is. Yeah, that's super helpful.
And so you can zoom in and out, manipulate it a little bit, because, a photocopy of a hard copy of the map isn't as useful.
That's true. Yep, that's a great
Nice,
suggestion.
nice idea, right? How do we feel about that, Ruth Ann?
I think it's great.
Yeah, okay.
I have a quick question. Who's the contractor?
I think this is Verstacci on this one. Bruno Verstacci.
And it'll be all electric?
It will, and it is qualifying for CEI.
So that's what I was just confirming.
And Verstacci and Canva have worked together on numerous projects.
It is astounding how expensive this stuff got.
Incredible. This $700,000 a unit total project cost, that's really.
You just wonder if
Amazing.
prices will come back down as inflation comes back down.
That's some wishful thinking.
Well, are there also things in this project
We have
that
to
maybe
hope.
contributed?
Yeah, I can help fill in a little. I didn't get into detail on this in my initial presentation, but there is another component of this project, which is the parking. And typically we wouldn't build parking here because it's in the city. However, as you know, these Vital Brooklyns are complicated community negotiations. And so it was important to the elected official that some parking be provided here. And unfortunately, that also is a major cost driver for the project.
Baked into the total project cost per unit.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right, yeah.
Hard to picture it, Dave, but it's a neighborhood of sort of low-rise, mid-century apartment buildings.
Yeah, I know it actually.
And then lots of or lots of older, Prospect Leopards Manor, including the historic districts, are early 20th century single-family homes that are cut up into 1 to 4 family homes. But so there's a lot of cars.
Yeah.
There's a lot of cars and not enough places to park.
I've
So you
experienced-
neighborhood residents see a building like this go up and they're like,
I'm
blame
sure
it on
of
City
it,
Bike. But
yeah.
City Bike took away a lot of spaces and now
And also, the hospitals are all there, right?
And
So
the
there's
hospitals
just
are
a lot of traffic coming that needs to park to go see their people in the hospital, yeah.
I've experienced it firsthand, visiting my son on Ocean Avenue.
Oh, yeah.
yeah, no parking. Great. Any other questions or comments on this project? If not, we should move ahead.
Oh.
Diana?
Yes, now before Sunny Mae Mortgage Insurance Committee and the Sunny Mae Board are resolutions that were transmitted in connection with this item. Assuming the first and second previously entered for the Mortgage Insurance Committee and Sunny Mae, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Excellent. The motions are carried and the resolutions adopted.
Great. So now we move to number 3, right?
Now before the, yes, I think.
Oh, you've got one more. I'm
I
sorry.
got one. Now before the HFA members and the
Right, I'm sorry.
HFA Finance and Program Committee are resolutions to be adopted that were transmitted in connection with this item. Assuming the first and second previously entered for HFA and for the Finance Committee, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Great.
The motions are carried and the resolutions adopted.
Thank you, Diana. I'm sorry to have interrupted you there. Number 3, resolutions. The Sunny Mae Mortgage Insurance Committee, Sunny Mae Board recommending and approving 100% mortgage insurance on an $11,800,000 HFA permanent first mortgage loan for Estella Housing in Hempstead, Nassau County. And Part B, resolutions of the HFA Finance and Program Committee and the HFA members recommending and authorizing the finance approval of an amount not to exceed $38,720,000 of fixed under variable rate, tax exempt or taxable bonds, and an amount not to exceed $17,040,000 in HFA subsidy funds for this project, again known as Estella Housing in Hempstead, Nassau County. We'll go back to Mike and Julie for this one as well.
So this project comprises the development of 96 all-low-income units with 42 supportive housing units. And there's an interesting wrinkle in this project because OMH will pay $863,000 per annum in debt service, which equals 91.5% of the $914,000 annual debt service on the HFA loan. So this equals about the debt service on approximately $10.8 million of the $11.8 million loan. So the real estate risk here is really only $1 million. The project is being developed by Concern for Independent Living, in a Long Island-based, experienced and well-regarded developer of supportive housing on Long Island and in New York City. And this will be the 12th loan that we have insured on entities, owned by entities controlled by Concern. And of the 12, 6 were financed by HFA and 6 were financed by CPC with 9% credits. The insured loan amount is $123,000 per unit, which equals $747,000, which equals 16% of the $747,000 development costs per unit.
Thanks, Mike. Let's go to Julie.
Okay, so I'm very excited about presenting this one today because this is a great example of what the governor is really promoting in her housing plan and in the budget. So this project is located in Hempstead. It is in the county of Nassau, and it is transit-oriented development in that it's a few hundred yards away from the Hempstead Long Island Railroad Station. And it is also pursuant to Hempstead's local plan called Hempstead Rising, which is designed to do redevelopment as part of the redevelopment plan of the downtown Hempstead corridor. This is also interesting in that it's a not-for-profit developer, which we understand the value of not-for-profit ownership, especially of supportive housing. And Concern has a long history of serving and developing both OMH and HCR finance projects. As Mike described, this is unique in that it's a partnership with OMH and that they're providing debt service financing for a significant number of the units. And the supportive units will be for folks who are living with mental illness. The project is 100% affordable at or below 60% of AMI, so we're really reaching some, deep affordability here. And it should be noted that this project has been stalled for about maybe 6 or 7 or 8 years. Because the development team has been working hard to get local approval for the pilot, and they finally got it. So I hope that this could be an interesting and exciting example for people on Long Island to see the good work that we will be doing there and the quality buildings that we will be providing for a whole wide range of Long Islanders. So I will stop there, and I'm happy to take any questions.
50% of this project is for veterans also, right?
Let me check to see if we have a vet's preference. Vets?
Some of the supportive units are targeted to veterans with disabilities.
Okay, so there's an overlay between.
For the 42 supportive units, 12 of those are targeted towards vets.
Yeah.
Only 12. That's not what's in the original plan, though.
The original plan.
50% to be for veteran services, and then another portion for families, and then also other individuals living in the area for that development.
So when you say original plan, can you help me understand what you're referring to?
When they put it through with Don Ryan, the former mayor, one of the reasons it took 6 years is because he didn't want it developed, because he was refusing to give the tax incentives.
Right.
Because Hempstead is already in an economic deficit, so to give up that tax incentives, it would put them even more in a deficit. So 50% of the project was supposed to go towards helping veterans, and then everyone else. Not other than 96, just 12.
So I believe you, although I'm not familiar with what the original plan was when it first came a number of years ago. We know that the developers work very carefully and over a period of time, of course, with the municipalities to come to something that folks can feel comfortable with. So I'm not familiar with all of the machinations of the discussion of how they got to where they are now. It sounds as if they maintained some of the veteran preference through OMH, and the municipality, they must have come to an agreement on the number of vets because the municipality was willing to move forward with this transaction. I am happy to follow up with the developer to find out more about how that unfolded.
They're also a developer that does a lot of veterans housing, so it's not like the developer itself wouldn't have done more vets. It must have been something that was negotiated with the town, I would imagine. Did they get their pilot in the end from the village or the county?
It came from the village in the end, right?
Well, we have 2 Hempstead projects this month, right? There's a
We had to
second-
pull one of
Oh,
them.
7,
The next
that's
one's
what
coming
7 was?
next month.
Yeah, but they're all part of the same
One is
master
Town of Hempstead
plan.
IDA. One with the, but I don't know if they both are to the IDA was doing the pilot.
Yeah, I think it's more expensive, my understanding, to go to the
Yeah.
town. They charge like different fees. It's cheaper to go via the village, so people
It
prefer
was,
to go to the
actually,
village.
Mike is showing me in the memo, I'm sorry I didn't catch this. It's the Hempstead IDA that issued the 30-year
I
pilot.
thought, yeah.
Yeah.
James, one, this sounds like this is a project many years in the making, and as you know well, these negotiations over the pilot we don't do that as the state agency. That's done by the developer, and they have to work out a pilot to finance their project. In this case, a 30-year tax abatement of some sort, and then they present it to us for financing. I guess what I'm trying to say is Julie can't get in that room and negotiate the pilot, negotiate the percentage of units for veterans, in the process of negotiating the pilot, right? The state doesn't do that. So that's one of the problems. It's frankly going to be a challenge with some of the objectives of the governor's housing plan for suburban areas of New York City, not just Nassau County. The state can do a lot to finance these projects. The state could step in and rezone. It's the Bigfoot of ESD, eminent domain, things like that. That's a tool rarely used, obviously. But at the local level, localities control a big part of the cost, which is property taxes, which in places like Hempstead, to your point, they need that property tax revenue. Right. They're loath to give it up because they have a town that's, or in this case, a locality that has a lot of pressing need for services. And so it's very, very tricky. But I guess what's happened here is you knew a version of the project from a couple of years ago, let's say, where there was a certain percentage of housing for veterans. And look how it's evolved to the point where you're hearing it today from Julie. But I just want to say, from the agency standpoint, we don't negotiate that. It's unfortunate. I know what you're saying. It's kind of frustrating. It's not coming out the way you thought it would.
But shouldn't we know?
Well, it's many years of back and forth. I mean, maybe that could be in the materials a little. I mean, I knew it was Town of Hempstead IDA, and I'm like, okay, this is going to be tricky. I didn't know what the story was, but
I think this project's been in HFA for 7 years.
7 years.
It's taken maybe even longer than that to get through the local approval processes to get to this place.
Yeah, not to beat dead horses, but shouldn't we still know? That's my only point. I mean, what I'm hearing is that it's 50% is a pretty big damn number, right? For veterans. And so if that was changed, and for whatever reason, I understand we are not, as an agency,
yeah,
we're not involved with the negotiation, but shouldn't we know what that change was? That's my only point.
Right.
Yeah, I am absolutely happy to go back to the team and have them provide a narrative of
get a little more
the
background on it.
negotiation landed here.
Of the 96, how much of it is mental health services?
We have for OMH,
12 units.
no,
42, right?
let me just, give me 1 second here. 42 units will be OMH. 42.
42 units for mental health.
That's right.
Yeah, so it says, right, there are 2 different populations, the vets plus the
So is
homeless adults.
I think the takeaway for me is that whatever the result is that's being presented was what was agreed to at the local level.
Right.
To get the project done, right? And the financing has no influence on that, just comes to the financing with this is the way it's going to be developed. And living in a small town where there's a lot of this fighting over projects, that's how it's like blocking and tackling and the developer trying to meet the needs of whatever the municipality is saying they need in that local development. So I agree that if it's a big change from 50 to 12, but that wasn't the developer's choice, probably. It was the municipality saying, this is what we'll accept.
And I'm not arguing that point at all. I'm just
No,
saying
I'm not saying you are. I'm just suggesting.
Whatever transparency in this process, that
It could have
diligence,
changed,
what have you.
a dozen times between the beginning and the end.
absolutely.
And that is part of the local process that is so challenging.
I do understand that. I've said what I need to say on this. But I'm looking at this number. It says 30 New York State OMH assisted support, and then there's 12 ESSHI. Would that be also the mental
Right,
health
so
category?
I
That
can,
gets you to 42.
that's, I
Yeah.
can,
Let's go
so,
to the
so the
program.
30 come from OMH debt service financing, and then the additional 12 is our ESHI service and operating program.
Okay.
So that gets us to the full amount.
Thank you.
Great.
Is there a minimum income level
Minimum income?
or maximum?
Yeah.
Yeah,
There's a maximum income.
maximum. So I can tell you the range of AMIs that'll be served here
60% or below.
will be at 60 and below. You'll see there we're underwriting the OMH and ESHI units at 50%, but really folks can qualify for those if they're earning lower incomes. They can qualify for those if they're earning at or near 30% of AMI, which is about what folks who are living on public assistance only are earning.
Just got a big picture observations that if Elaine Gross were here, she would pan this project with her tool. You know,
Yes.
And suggest that this should be moved a mile north into the village of Garden City. You know, I mean, here you have Hempstead's already a significantly distressed community, has been for a long time. And, you know, an argument can be made that we're promoting
Concentrate,
that
right.
by locating both of these projects there. Albeit that on every other level, they make a tremendous amount of sense, which I think goes to the governor's initiative.
When I think here too, right, they did a master plan that actually some of the sites are market rate, some of them are affordable. So the whole, right, the town did an RFP and did a master plan, had a master developer, I think also, and then they like divvied up the site. So we have 2 sites, but I think there are other sites that have been progressing as market only. So it's, we don't see it because we see it project by project, but I believe there is sort of the larger master plan that includes that.
Thank you.
See, I'll just say the last thing too. The only thing in this project is that, yes, it is in the TOD area. They did redevelopment of Long Island Railroad. They did move the Greyhound station. They did do economic development in the area. So what they initially wanted to do was develop their main street. So now you have the courthouse there. Then you put senior living there. Now you're putting 50% mental health services there as well. So now you pretty much just killed most of their main street economic development that will enhance what goes on in the community. And Garden City actually wants to move the train station further into Garden City, just so they wouldn't have to commute from there.
Yeah. I absolutely hear what you're saying. I think that we also should keep in mind that this is just one part. So there's also a lot of market rate development happening as part of this rezoning and revitalization. So while we are providing housing for lower incomes, it is also an approach of balanced development so that we're providing housing in these new areas that reach a wide range of incomes from market to low income. I'm not familiar with Garden City politics, unfortunately, but I can imagine it's challenging. I've heard of Garden City and their politics, yeah.
It's a case study in what
There you
we're trying
go.
to fight.
Okay.
Okay,
We're good.
James, you good?
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Let
Thank
me
you,
take a-
Julie. Let's take action on this then.
Now before Sunny Mae Mortgage Insurance Committee and the Sunny Mae Board are resolutions that were transmitted in connection with this item. Assuming the first and second previously entered for the Mortgage Insurance Committee and for Sunny Mae, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The motions are carried and the resolutions adopted. Now before the HFA members and the HFA Finance and Program Committee are resolutions to be adopted that were transmitted in connection with this item. Assuming the first and second previously entered for HFA and for the Finance Committee, all in favor, please say aye.
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 The motions are carried and the resolutions adopted.
Great, thank you, everybody, and thanks for the good discussion. Some projects I think sail through because they're just not controversial, just win-win all the way around, and some projects are a little more,
Tricky.
we're financing and we're sort of feel like we're stuck, like we want to finance it, but we see that it doesn't check all the boxes, right? It's not. 4, resolution Sunny Mae Mortgage Insurance Committee Subcommittee Board recommending approving mortgage insurance on a $33,320,000 HFA permanent first mortgage loan for the Sutphin Senior Housing Project in Jamaica, Queens. And Part B, resolutions of HFA Finance and Program Committee, HFA members recommending authorizing an amount not to exceed $77,885,000 of fixed and/or variable rate tax-exempt and/or taxable bonds, and an amount not to exceed $12,975,000 in HFA subsidy loan funds, and an amount not to exceed $950,500 in NYSERDA Clean Energy Initiative funds for this project known as the Sutphin Senior Housing Project in Jamaica. Mike and Julie, back to you.
This project comprises the construction of 173 all low-income units, including 52 supportive housing units. There's a Section 8 HAP contract for all of the units, and the supportive housing units are not ESHI units. They will be funded through an award from the New York City Human Resources Administration under the New York City 1515 program. The city will provide $900,000 a year to provide support services for the supportive housing units. There won't be any rent subsidies because it's 100% Section 8 project. The project is being developed by Breaking Ground, an experienced and well-regarded developer of supportive housing. And this will be the third loan that the MIF has insured for entities controlled by Breaking Ground, with total exposure of $50 million. The insured loan amount is $193,000 per unit, which equals 24% of the project's total development cost of $819,000 per unit.
Thanks, Mike. Julie?
You're welcome.
Okay, so this project, I'm pleased to say we're 3 for 3 this month, and 3 not-for-profit developers that are working on housing that reaches folks, at lower incomes and often most in need. So this project is located in the downtown Jamaica rezoning area. It was rezoned as part of the 2007 plan in the downtown special district. It is being developed by Breaking Ground, who is another a very well-capacitated not-for-profit developer who's been doing development in the city for many years. Something that's very interesting and exciting about this project is that it will incorporate a federally qualified healthcare center. So there is currently an FQHC, Federally Qualified Health Center, on the site. And they are the owner of the land, and they will be relocated back into the ground floor of the new development project. So federally qualified health centers serve the lowest income, and this center will be open not only to residents to receive care there, but also to other folks in the community who income qualify. We have 107 units. And all of them will be affordable up to 60% of AMI. They are for low-income seniors. As Mike described, 30%, as is this model, 30% of those residents will be referred from New York City Shelter and will receive support services under New York 1515. And the remaining units are open to any income-qualified senior citizen over age 62. And to qualify with Section 8, you can be earning as little as 30% or less of AMI, which is about what folks who are on public assistance only earn, and still be qualified to live here. So I will add that this project also is all electric. I am almost certain. Yes, and is receiving a grant from NYSERDA Clean Energy Initiative, in addition to our subsidy financing. So I'm happy to take any questions on this project.
Julie, thank you.
If she were here, Director Miller would appreciate the all-electric part.
Oh, yes.
Questions for Julie and Mike on this project?
I had one question.
Sure.
Insurance is high. Is that typical now? Are we really up to roughly $1,400, $1,500 a unit in insurance?
Yes, insurance is very high. We are doing our best to try to track this and understand what's happening. But I can tell you, I have deals that are having trouble securing the insurance that they need in this market.
McIntyre raised this issue in November or December, did you not, James?
I'm very concerned with insurance and the escalating costs. But no, it's like, I think the big issue right now is there's also a disconnect between, again, an all-electric building that doesn't have combustion risk and why it's getting charged. And for insurance, it probably includes a lot more fire hazard insurance that probably we were mitigating. It's also the seeker review, other in the environmental review, the thoughtfulness of staff, thinking about risks. That's all should be factored in, all of it, right? I mean, because we don't, as an institution, this is what government is set up to do. And I don't think government is getting the benefit of the hard work that it does and that staff does in looking at every project. So.
Yeah, DFS did, there's a bill last year, and DFS did a study on insurance in affordable housing that was not particularly conclusive, I think, in their analysis, but the industry is continuing to try and push and figure out. I mean, I think people are getting renewals that are double what their prior was, even though they've had no claims. People are getting dropped or can't get. There's very few insurers. There's definitely an issue. That's hard to control.
And it's hard to know why. I mean, I hear all these theories, right? But it's hard to know.
I mean, if you look at claims are up significantly relative to major billion-dollar storms, I think.
Well, yes,
it's
certainly.
21 storms, billion-dollar-plus storms a year now versus 10 years ago when it was maybe 2.
Yeah.
So the significant payout in climate impacts is driving up the costs.
Yeah.
Have developers of affordable housing ever considered creating a self-insured group trust?
Yes, people are talking about that right now.
Right.
As you pointed out once, it's funding that, where that's the.
They're looking at like maybe doing a co-op of some sort to be able to.
You find an underwriter, right, who does all the actuarial work and all the risk and assessment, and self-insured trust is self-policing. Bad actors get thrown out, right? But it's tricky.
That's what Florida did with their CAT fund that they use for a lot of stuff. Is that I mean, but it comes down to the underwriting and your sophistication underwriting risk. So.
Another thing that I think will impact this is climate disclosure, which is also coming.
Yeah.
So financial institutions needing to disclose the risk that they have to climate.
Oh.
The lower the risk, I think, the more favorable the insurance. Higher risk, obviously we'll have to pay higher, but new build that's built to this level of resilience and, to James's point, all electric should yield lower insurance, and it's not, and that's significantly problematic.
So is DFS, after doing the study, are they pursuing solutions, or are we?
I think the industry is doing that, and they're looking at things like like you spoke about, sort of like a captive, and could they do that themselves? Because I don't think they feel that the regulatory route is going to necessarily be effective.
Yeah.
There's actually folks at NYSERDA that are very focused on this as well, and I think there's also, I don't know if you know, Lori Shulman, who was at Enterprise during the time that works now in the White House, is very focused on this as well. So this is actually a discussion I had the other day with the New York Fed, was on this exact issue of how you actually bring the folks in the room to be able to start talking about this in a real fashion to move forward, like where it's not just DFS, but like it's also like long-term rating agencies and other people who have risk and skin in the game when it comes to credit and understanding why sometimes like this is the rising insurance premium should be like a clue to that you need to like raise your mechanicals, right? Like these are things to think about proactively, how to actually mitigate climate risk and use perhaps an offset in insurance premiums as an incentive to do such things.
Yeah.
Does asset retention have a play in it also? Because insurance companies are more required now to hold on to more assets to actually pay out.
I don't think we know
the answer to that.
They might argue that, that they might argue that it drives up their costs. But all right, well, good. I mean, this is again good that we flagged it again, and let's be hopeful that DFS and others are really working, whether it's captives or group trusts or working on some solutions here.
The one thing, and this is kind of a tangent to this, but it kind of comes back to the political thing, and I don't know if everyone's aware. Like the EPA came out yesterday and announced that the Inflation Reduction Act money that was supposed to flow down, that effectively the money that was supposed to go to cities and states is effectively being directed towards solar. And the huge chunk is going to be like a solar focus, but it's not really focused. And I think this is some of the challenges. And as an agency, we should think about what should be done. But like a lot of this comes from the fact that like the needs of like upstate in Buffalo, solar doesn't work because the price like of energy is low because of Niagara Falls. And like if we're really concerned about like cities and states being empowered to help solve the challenges that they have, mandating, for example, solar is like not necessarily the solution. It's more about how do you actually empower folks and governments with the resources to think through these strategies to support a lot of the efforts that they've already been thinking about, but have already been they're already under resourced and solving. So that was just one thing that came up yesterday that's a little bit concerning on a federal level that the agency should be focused on.
Right. It's not a one size fits all.
The only other comment I want to make on these deals, it's great to see Wi-Fi.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's been a big
Yes.
push of ours also.
Yeah, and I appreciate that.
Yeah.
It's really advanced.
We're moving in that direction on all of our, especially new construction stuff. Wherever we're able to get it in there, we are. And our new guidelines are requiring it. So as we continue, you're going to see that basically everything is going to have Wi-Fi.
One other question, does the 15 years renew on the city mental health dollars?
New York 1515.
What happens if HRA pulls out after 15 years?
Well, it's kind of like Ishai.
Yeah.
You know, we all are in agreement that that would be a total disaster. So probably government's going to renew these contracts, and that's how we're
It didn't happen
continuing.
with the prior, right? The prior versions of the program, the New York 1, 2, 3, were the predicates to New York 15, and those they didn't. You know, they
But Mike, you're
changed.
you're writing it under for the coterminus with the 40-year mortgage, effectively. Okay.
And on this one, we've got the Section 8, so
Yeah.
that
100%
keeps us
Section 8,
safe, right? I mean, we lose the services if this goes away, and that's a disaster, but at least the mortgage is secure.
But the services, well, but there's still the federally qualified health center is still the main facility on the ground floor.
That's right. The FQHC is there, and tenants have the
That's
ability.
federally subsidized, and by
Yeah.
the way, super important for
To
local
access
community health. That's a really,
For sure.
that is a very good tenet. It's not like having a laundromat or a Rite Aid.
Yeah.
No, it's seriously important because it's the building then becoming the home to something that's a really broad public health service. I've worked with some of those, they're really important. Great. Diana, let's do it.
Okay.
Sorry,
One
Dave.
quick observation, that is, in contrast to the Hempstead discussion we just had about location, this is vastly superior because it's surrounded by booming market rate development in the immediate vicinity. So it's a really interesting location to have a project like this.
And Jamaica, good transportation and.
Great transportation, yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
The Jamaica rezoning made a difference for us, but to be able to get affordable housing into Queens.
Get some density, get some
It really
density there,
did.
too, right? These are old communities.
Shows you what you can do.
Yep, let's do it.
Now before Sunny Mae Mortgage Insurance Committee and the Sunny Mae Board are resolutions that were transmitted in connection with this item. Assuming the first and second previously entered for the Mortgage Insurance Committee and for Sunny Mae, all in favor, please say aye.
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 The motions are carried and the resolutions adopted. Now before the HFA members and the HFA Finance and Program Committee are resolutions to be adopted that were transmitted in connection with this item. Assuming the first and second previously entered for HFA and for the Finance Committee, all in favor, please say aye.
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 The motions are carried and the resolutions adopted.
Great. Now, I just want to check my notes. Carmen Place, which was the other Hempstead project, we're not doing today?
We'll bring it next month.
Okay, great.
Let's go to 6.
So I'm going to skip ahead to we're going to go from Jamaica, Queens to Buffalo. That's great. I like it when we crisscross the state like this. So we're going to go to number 6. 3 parts this time, A, B, C. A is resolution of Sunny Mae Mortgage Insurance Committee approving 100% mortgage insurance on a $2,750,000 HFA permanent first mortgage loan for a project we're going to call ETC Towers in Buffalo, Erie County. Part B, resolutions of the HFA Finance and Program Committees. The HFA members recommending and authorizing an amount not to exceed $39,325,000 of fixed and or variable rate, tax exempt and or taxable bonds. Bless you, Dave. Isn't tight. And an amount not to exceed $22,902,845 in HFA subsidy funds. And wait, there's more. An amount not to exceed $300,000 from our friends at NYSERDA, the Clean Energy Initiative funds, for the ETC Towers project in Buffalo. There's a part 3, or C, I should say. It's a resolution of the Housing Trust Fund Corporation authorizing a partial debt forgiveness. Someone's going to have to explain that. Mike is going to help do this one.
Okay.
Julie's on deck. And Russell just came to the table. Good morning. How are you?
So this project comprises of substantial rehabilitation of 16 buildings with 281 low-income units. The development entity is essentially controlled by First Shiloh Baptist Church. The insured loan amount is only $9,600 per unit, which equals 4% of the project's total development cost of $251,000 per unit.
I know, but you gotta do it.
Oh, Mike, sorry, I'm talking about how much I like projects like this where we restore old build. We don't always do new construction. I like this. Russell, you're up.
Yeah, these preservation deals always have a story.
Do they not?
This one definitely does.
What's the story on this one?
All right, the story is the Ellicott neighborhood of Buffalo is located just east of downtown. It's in Buffalo's industrial heyday in the early 20th century. It was a very diverse neighborhood full of working class immigrants and African Americans. In 1958, much of this neighborhood was completely cleared and demolished under the label of urban renewal, quotes, unquotes. At the time, the Ellicott Mall public housing project was built at that point and run by the Buffalo Municipal Housing Authority. Consisted of 8 residential towers containing 590 units. The project suffered deterioration over the next 20 years, was shut down in 1981. By the 1990s, the city began a plan to redevelop the area, which included rehabilitation of these 1958 towers and a new construction of senior housing nearby, which would be 12 senior townhomes. So this redevelopment was financed through HCR back in 1997 and 98 through 9% tax credits. That was developed by North Star, who along with the First Shiloh Baptist Church created a new mix of affordable family and senior housing, now known as the Ellicott Town Center, or ETC Towers. The project now consists of 281 units, of which 257 units are in the 4 high-rise towers for families, and again, the 24 units for seniors are in the nearby townhomes. 25 years later, today, Ellicott Town Center is in need of rehabilitation and modernization through some energy efficiency upgrades. The developer North Star in their portfolio was recently acquired by Beacon. Beacon's done a lot of development with the agency, particularly upstate. They are now going to serve as the turnkey developer on this project. First Shiloh will remain in place as the owner. The management company is Corvus that took over the property in 2022 after the previous management company had some issues. The renovation work presented here is substantial at $39.7 million or $141,000 per unit. It involves some major work items, including an overhaul of the heating, ventilation, and air conditioning systems, the building envelope, roofs, windows, flooring, carpentry. As a preservation project, the resulting work will meet the agency's requirements for at least a 20% energy use reduction as a result. Further, for the senior townhomes, the project is expected to exceed our baseline requirements and qualify for some of our Clean Energy Initiative funding, becoming, I think, the first preservation project to do so under the program. It's still a process that's underway, so it hasn't been finalized yet. We're hoping this is the first of many preservation deals coming forward for the CEI program. Because the majority of the tenants at ETC Towers are low income, they're well below the maximum allowed income limit of 60% AMI, there is limited revenue coming into the project. So now we're going to talk about debt forgiveness. That coupled with the operating expenses means that the project cannot support the large amount of existing debt from the 1997-98 refinancing. Part of that debt is, half of it's about HTFC debt, the other half is coming from the Buffalo Urban Renewal Agency. The appraised value of the project is well under the total amount of that existing debt and what would have been the acquisition cost. So in order to make the project financially feasible for its continued preservation, because of course when we're talking about preservation of affordable housing, we also must consider the financial solvency in addition to the physical preservation. So that's why this proposal is going to not only the HFA and SONYMA boards, but also includes a request to the HTFC board to authorize a resolution. It is a revolution. Forgiving an amount not to exceed $3.9 million in existing debt on the HTFC debt, and the city of Buffalo is also going to be forgiving debt pari passu to that. The remaining $8.9 million in existing debt will be able to be subordinated into the project, as that amount is determined to be feasible along with the new financing to rehab the buildings. So the state's working with the city of Buffalo to forgive that portion of the debt so the project can take on the new financing, and we'll preserve this needed affordable and senior housing for at least another 40 years. Thank you.
That's really helpful. Thanks for the detailed overview and history of the project, Russell. Questions for Russell or Julie or Mike?
The individuals that were displaced, are they a part of the senior group that's moving back in again?
Yeah, where do the tenants go?
Families in the residential towers. I don't think they were part of the senior component, but yeah, they'll be relocated temporarily while the work is being done, and they'll be back.
So the one from the prior project that's in debt?
Oh, you mean from
the original
that's a good
individuals
question.
that were moved out?
That was back in they shut down in the 80s, so not sure where. I don't know if there's any provision for that or if there's any tenants that would be remaining. I'm not sure. So that's quite a while ago now.
Because the reason I asked for that, because we were talking about Baltimore earlier. Downtown Baltimore, they offered the individuals $140,000 to move out of their homes while they renovated. When they went to move back in again, it was $260-something thousand. So the people that were relocated couldn't afford to move back.
You mean they raised the price while they were doing the work?
Yeah.
And so here's your money, but
here's your money to move.
You can't move out.
We're going to renovate. You get first option to come back, but it was $100,000 more than what the people could actually afford.
That doesn't seem quite right. Wow.
Not at all.
Well, that's kind of a buyout. That's kind of a shady buyout or whatever. But this is
New York.
this is temporary. Yeah.
but it's a cautionary tale about buyout plans, right? Or provisional buyouts.
Any questions? Any other questions or comments? Great. Okay, Diane, let's do it.
Now before SONYMA Mortgage Insurance Committee is a resolution that was transmitted in connection with this item. Assuming the first and second previously entered for the Mortgage Insurance Committee, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The motion is carried and the resolution adopted. Now before the HFA members and the HFA Finance and Program Committee are resolutions to be adopted that were transmitted in connection with this item. Assuming the first and second previously entered for HFA and for the Finance Committee, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The motions are carried and the resolutions adopted. Now before the HTFC members is a resolution to be adopted that was transmitted in connection with this item. Assuming the first and second previously entered for HTFC, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The motion is carried and the resolution is adopted.
Thanks, Diana. Thanks, everybody. And Russell, thank you, too. It's a very important project. 7, according to my notes, is being deferred. I don't even know what 7 was. I guess we'll come back to it. 8, let's go to 8. Resolutions of the HFA Finance and Program Committee. HFA members recommending and authorizing the issuance of additional tax-exempt or taxable fixed-rate or variable rate bonds in an amount not to exceed $5 million for a total of $48,060,000 in connection with the Silo City Phase 1 project, also in Buffalo. You don't like where I'm going?
I think before we do Silo that we skipped Utica.
Oh, we
No,
pulled
that was deferred.
Utica was pulled?
Well, it's deferred.
Till March.
Oh, okay.
This
Sorry.
is my
Excuse me.
I like the Utica project, but they told me
Sorry, I
it
didn't
wasn't fully
realize it was
baked, so, you know.
deferred.
I just do what I'm told, Mike.
Got it.
Well, Mike, I don't know. Utica's got
Today,
I-
everyone's read it, we have a little.
there's an issue with Utica.
It'll come in March. We had a little last minute environmental sign off delay, but it'll
Okay.
be here in March.
So we'll bring it back.
Thank you for keeping
No,
us on our toes.
that looks like a good, I read about it in the book, it looks like a great project. We love helping downtown Utica, but it sounds like we need to bring that one back in about 3 weeks' time. So we're going to this, back to Buffalo, Mike, if that's okay.
Sure.
As I mentioned, these resolutions to support the Silo City Phase 1 project in Buffalo, previously approved by members at our meeting back, some of you might not remember this because you weren't here, September 3rd, 2020. So this project came before the board, 2.5 years ago.
I was still in college.
And you were in high school. So Julie's going to, well, Mike, who's doing this? Mike, Julie?
Julie.
I will
Yeah.
present this one.
Yeah, a little refresher for those of us who were here.
Yeah.
McIntyre was here, sitting on the other side of the table at the time, but he knows the project.
So yeah, it's nice that we have some board members who remember this project. So this project is called Silo City. It's located in Buffalo. It closed in Q3 of 2020. So this was at the start of the pandemic. And it's actually a very interesting project. If you had a chance to take a look at the rendering on this thing, this is an adaptive reuse of what is a collection of grain elevator complexes. This is the first phase of the redevelopment of this area. I had a chance to visit this. It's really very interesting, and it feels a little Red Hook-ish, I would say.
Red Hook has grain elevators too.
Red Hook-esque, I would say, of Buffalo. So it's really very interesting and exciting development. The developer is Generation Development. Since the time of the initial closing, the project ran into some complications. The original GC has been replaced. The original GC was ARC Building Partners. They were found to be deficient by the owner and was replaced by Oak Hill Building Company. And in addition, and part of the reason why they were found to be deficient is because there was some significant errors in the installation of some of the drywall in particular, and then they were hit with a major weather event that resulted in a lot of mold that had to be removed and started again. Due to these complications, the project came back to us. Due to these complications, their construction contract, of course, increased, and the project came and let us know that they are going to fail their 50% test. We started working with this team on some sort of a workout strategy. The developer is contributing additional development fee. They're able to get a little bit of additional equity in from the investor, and the agency is seeking approval to issue an additional $5 million in tax-exempt bonds in order to equal a first mortgage loan in an amount not to exceed $48 million. Again, this additional $5 million is required in order for this project to meet the 50% test, and will enable it to complete and start occupancy hopefully in the next 6 months.
Who is the syndicator?
Yeah, it's a good question. The bank is Chase, and the syndicator is.
Investor Chase also.
Give me one quick second here. They have been active, and Chase has been good in that they'll continue funding while we're working out what we need to work out. I have Chase here. Give me one second. Oh yeah, I remember now. Yeah, it's Monarch Private Capital who's the syndicator on this one. Monarch is a little less common. This is the first deal I've worked with Monarch on, to be quite frank. So I'm not as familiar. But I can tell you, we did spend quite a lot of time ensuring that everyone was making the contribution that they could. Yeah, and we settled on the $5 million in cap, and I feel very confident that this is the most efficient and makes the most sense from the agency's investment standpoint in order to get this thing completed successfully.
Julie, when I read about the problems in this project, I was wondering what we, as the financing agency, and we've got colleagues in our Buffalo office, right? How much construction oversight do we provide, or do we, is it JP Morgan Chase that's doing that? Like, who is keeping an eye on the contractor as,
Pardon me.
bless you, Mike.
Thank you.
As progress payments are requested, cash is going out, people are buying supplies and doing work, in a construction plan? Like, do we do that? How closely do we actually monitor the construction?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we depend upon the banks to be sort of the frontline construction monitor. And of course, they're reporting to us, right? Because we're signing off on the requisitions. However, our design unit does send inspectors. As part of the work out here, we were in touch with our design unit to find out exactly what happened, if there were lapses. we discovered that there was something of a lapse that has been corrected by our construction monitoring team and ensuring that they're going out on a regular schedule to the site. We also spent a lot of time talking with Chase about, you know, our expectations of our partners on the construction monitoring side. And so they get it. They also put in additional provisions into their conditions for the workout that there be enhanced construction monitoring here at the expense of the development team.
And will someone like the bank sue the contractor, you know, for default?
We try to avoid that, and certainly in this case, we did avoid that because the surety and the bank and everyone agreed that the replacement contractor was required.
So the surety bond covers that and the...
Right. We, you know, it's not unheard of that we would have a situation where the surety would step in and people would start suing each other, but that did not happen
But it's
here.
the surety underwriter that kind of makes that call?
That's right.
Yeah,
And
okay.
the surety, it's another complicated negotiation because of course they never want to pay anything. So, but in this case, we were able to make it work.
Okay, yeah. No,
Without
just,
getting ugly.
You know, I was whispering to the commissioner here that when I was at ESD, we financed a project in the same area, and we had a real problem with a contractor, and just a performance problem.
Mhm.
And so it strikes me, I wonder to what degree, I'm the last person that wants to suggest more government. Here we got a lot going on, right? But state agencies that, you know, as part of their operations, provide taxpayer funding to private entities to build, right? So it could be parks, it could be DOT. Everybody uses private contractors. And to what degree is there some sort of central database or system for having red flags when somebody that underperformed or had a problem, you know, doing concrete work for a section of highway outside of Rochester, that same firm comes and bids on a affordable housing project in downtown Buffalo due to foundation. You know, would we know that that firm, you know, whether it was whatever the problem was, but failed to perform and there was, you know, was thrown off the job and ended up in court and this and that. You know, I wonder how much talk's not the right word, but coordination there is amongst state agencies, because you could have a firm popping up and like basically taking advantage of the taxpayer every which way until they're finally stopped years down the road.
Sounds like Miami Beach.
Right?
Yeah. Seriously.
I mean, I'm not saying that's happening, but you could see it. And
I mean, you'll find on ours, if you sit here long enough, Fred, and you know it, you've seen it, like we have a lot of the same contractors who are in the affordable housing business, who are doing a lot. Some of them are affiliates of developers, some of them are just longtime affordable housing contractors. In this case, this is not a contractor who I believe we had. The original one, Arc Building Partners, is not someone in our sort of typical stable of contractors.
They're known. They're a known entity in Buffalo.
But they're not, I mean, I feel like there's probably 5 or 6 that are prominent on outright Chase and those like.
Yeah, they're some of the Pike.
So for many cases, we know, or we're familiar with the contractor because they've been on many of our deals.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Not to excuse them either, but this is a particularly difficult adaptable use.
Yes.
Yeah, no, this project's hard from day one.
Like, you know,
And then you got to get people to live in a silo. I mean, no.
I'm telling you, you have to go visit this. You'll live there.
We have
It's
a
community gets
contractor
very
sitting
siloed.
here, and I stood in the shadow of these silos, and they're massive, and I was shocked that anyone would want to live near them, much less live in them. But they are very proud of their silos in Buffalo. It's part of their culture and their history. To me, when I tried to make sense of it, it's like our water towers in New York City. We love them. They're old. They represent our history. They're unique. We don't even see them when we look at them anymore, except to admire them. So that's how they feel about their site.
They're also waterfront. They're on the lake, right?
Yes.
And so, you know, I know the site.
river.
It's the river.
My turn?
Your turn.
Okay.
Let's fix this.
Now before the HFA members and the HFA Finance and Program Committee are resolutions to be adopted that were transmitted in connection with this item. Assuming the first and second previously entered for HFA and for the Finance Committee, all in favor, please say aye.
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 The motions are carried and the resolutions adopted.
Great. Now we're going to go to an item that's just HFA member action. It's number 9. Resolution of HFA members authorizing an amount not to exceed $41,074,879 in HFA subsidy funds for a project called Cobb's Hill Village in Rochester, which is, of course, in Monroe County. Russell's going to stick around. Mike's leaving because there's no mortgage insurance. Thank you, Mike. Good to see you. And Russ is going to tell us about this. I hope.
Oh, I've got a story for you. Cobb's Hill Village proposal first came into us about 7 years ago. I'm going to debate Julie on whether or not this is older than Estella. I was here, so I think this is actually older, but we can go back to the records. I was the original project manager on this deal back then. It was some unique proposal at the time to demolish an existing senior Mitchell-Lama development in the city of Rochester. These are 6 one-story buildings that were originally built in 1957 under the Mitchell-Lama program, 60 units. To demolish these motel-style looking buildings and rebuild the project to a modern design. The buildings are structurally sound, however, the current apartments, they open directly onto sidewalks and parking lots. It looks like a motel. Inside the interior walls are cinder block. They have tiny kitchenettes. There's little room for visitors. The mechanical systems are outdated. Cobb's Hill Village sits right adjacent to Cobb's Hill Park. For those who live in Rochester or familiar, it's considered one of the nicest parks in the area. That's just east of downtown Rochester. The decision to demolish and redevelop the senior housing required extensive review and deliberation by the Rochester City Planning Commission. Of course, this was a process that delayed the proposal by another 2 years. So in 2018, a new design was approved by the commission that would replace those 60 old units with 80 new units in 2 buildings of 3 stories each. Then came the lawsuit. The land to build Cobb's Hill Village in 1957 was originally deeded to the Plymouth Gardens Incorporated. It was taken out of land in the northwest corner of that Cobb's Hill Park. The deed contained a reversion clause providing once the original mortgage was paid off that the land could revert back to the city in order to preserve the affordability of the housing there. This reversion option was extended another 20 years from 2041 to 2061 when the proposal for its redevelopment came back to us in 2018. There's a lot of dates here. Community groups brought a lawsuit against the city at this point, alleging that the city had not properly conducted their environmental impact study on this redevelopment and had not confirmed that the redevelopment would comply with the original deed restrictions on the property, basically the Mitchell-Lama. They were concerned that this was not going to be rebuilt as senior affordable Mitchell-Lama housing. This laid in the court for several years. A few more years, the case was ultimately decided by the state Supreme Court in May of 2021 in favor of the city and for the redevelopment of the project. A motion for the Court of Appeals to hear the case was denied in 2022, and so finally the project was cleared to move forward. As a result, though, because of this litigation process, additional design changes were made to try to appeal to some of the community concerns. This included the addition of 24 additional senior townhomes to the 80 units that were already being proposed. So now we have a total of 104 senior units, plus a community building, all designed to complement the natural aesthetic of the park nearby. And because this design was finalized by the city and affirmed by the Supreme Court prior to our agency's full electrification requirements, the project is not going to fully meet the current guidelines. However, the project will still meet the Energy Star multifamily new construction ERI path that would qualify it for climate bonds if it were getting bonds. It's not. It's also going to qualify for U.S. Green Building Council LEED certification through the multifamily low-rise B4 standards and also NYSERDA's new construction housing program Tier 2 criteria. We have a detailed list of some of the energy efficiency measures that are going to take place in the materials. Rochester Management is the nonprofit organization sole member of this Mitchell-Lama owner, Plymouth Gardens. They'll be providing their own $3.8 million of their own funds towards this redevelopment. They also provide a rental subsidy to 72 of the lowest income units of the project. Income tiers are set up at 30, 50, 60, up to 80% AMI, which is the Mitchell-Lama regulation income limit. The project will, of course, remain as an Article 2 Mitchell-Lama housing. There's no transfer of ownership involved. So the redevelopment is going to cost about $47 million. Due to this nonprofit owner structure, the Mitchell-Lama regulatory and rent restrictions, we've determined that the most financially feasible way to redevelop this project is through a permanent subsidy loan with paid interest through our Mitchell-Lama loan program, approximately $41 million. During construction, as we were talking about construction monitoring, CPC is coming in to provide a bridge loan to bridge the gap that we hold back 10% of our loan during construction. That 10% gap will be filled by a construction loan by CPC. We also have an agreement with them by which they will provide construction monitoring services, the drawdowns and loan servicing for us. So that's a nice arrangement that we have in these kinds of cases where we don't have a letter of credit bank on a bond deal. The project will be constructed in 3 separate phases. Each building will be built and residents will be relocated from the original buildings to the new buildings per each phase. They're expecting about 30 residents for each phase when the new building is complete. And one other thing I need to note, we had another 2 buildings in this proposal, existing Mitchell-Lama Senior Housing, Seth Green Apartments, and Plymouth Gardens Apartments. That we're going to do some minor capital needs work that we were going to include in this. Unfortunately, we have to pull that portion out of this proposal because there's some open environmental issues. They're doing lead and water testing, and unfortunately, some of the levels are coming up higher than is allowable under the code. So until we get a better grip as to what that entails and the scope of work and the cost of what's going to be needed to remediate this, we're deferring that portion out of this proposal because we want to move forward with Cobb's Hill. The residents have been waiting a very, very long time, and we'll probably come back with another proposal separately for the remediation of the other 2 buildings. So that's it. Thanks.
Questions for Russell about this? Interesting project, long history. What happened to just the quality of the apartments during the 7 years of this court back and forth and the people living there? In terms of maintenance and,
Well, Rochester management does a pretty good job of maintaining. Like I said, the buildings themselves are okay. They're just not very nice. They've been able to maintain them. The city also made Rochester kind of put in this rental subsidy to help the tenants who are struggling there. So that's become a permanent fixture with the financing. But generally, they're in good shape. They're just not very nice.
Right. Okay. Yeah, because your CPC's helping out.
Can't carry any debt. Barely. The expenses rise much higher. The expenses inflate higher than the revenue. So after about 10, 15 years, it really starts to dip. So we had to structure the loan in such a way that they could still make some paid interest payments, but at a slightly modified rate. I think it's 45 basis points instead of 50 usually.
So really,
Yeah, and the rent and they're limited by Mitchell-Lama rent regulations. So there's 2 rent increases that are being phased in over I think 2 years, but it's limited by the Mitchell-Lama.
This is a case where I think we have some faith in your contractor. It says it's Rufus Judson. That's Pike, right?
Yes.
And Pike does other work for the state. I think they've done SUNY buildings, and Pike has been around since the late. I know the family. They've been around since the late 1900s. And if you stay in construction long enough, everything goes full circle. So Pike is known, among other things, for in the 1960s building Midtown Plaza, the first indoor mall in America in downtown Rochester, which the state recently paid to demolish. Right, we've redeveloped that whole site through the ESD and through the Midtown Plaza redevelopment. So this guy Judson's grandfather, I think, built that project. I mean, it goes back. It's a 5-generation family-owned Rochester-based downtown Rochester construction company.
Wow.
But again, they've got a long history working on state projects.
Yeah, and reputation goes a long way, right?
They're known. They're a well-known family in Rochester area.
You raise an interesting point about this generational engagement, which of course goes back to what I've been saying, I guess, my first meeting, which is how do other people break into that process? I remember going to a meeting of the annual meeting of the Association of General Contractors, and I met a gentleman and asked, what is your family do? He said, we paint the Triborough Bridge.
Right.
So we've been painting the Triborough Bridge since it was a bridge, and when it's 18 months to paint it, then it's time to paint it again. And to qualify for it, you have to have experience painting the Triborough Bridge, right? And so that's locked in probably. So his brother was in Switzerland skiing, by the way. It was Christmas time, right? So the question, we'll keep dealing with this, of course, but it has to be a way. Nobody's against generational activity, God bless them. But how do people who aren't in that generational mix?
Right.
How do they get into the process? Because we'll be talking about this 5 years from now. 10 years from now, it's the same thing. There'll be another generation doing it. God bless them, but how do we break that?
Yeah.
Okay, so anyway, to be noted.
Duly noted.
Should I?
Any more questions or comments for Russell on this one? We'll restore the senior housing at last in downtown Rochester. Diana, let's make it happen.
Now before the HFA members is a resolution to be adopted that was transmitted in connection with this item. Assuming the first and second previously entered for HFA, all in favor, please say aye.
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 And I note that Sadie McGowan is recusing from this one. The motion is carried and the resolution adopted.
All right. Now, I think we're done with our project. So, Diana, we're going to do some ministerial duties. Item 10, a resolution authorizing certain revisions to the HFA and SONYMA mission statements. Diana, are you going to handle this one?
Yes, I'm going to handle this one.
Great.
So, if you will recall at our last meeting, we had talked about our mission statements, and we got comments because we have a very active and engaged board.
Very good, as we should.
And gave us some comments. We have revised them. James, I'm kind of looking at you because I know you like to move all the words around. So we revised them, taking into account your comments. And I just want to see if everyone had a chance to look at them, had any additional thoughts. I hope that we have captured your comments here, and just want to see if you have any thoughts on that.
Thank you, Diana.
Okay.
I was not around for the January meeting, so I'll let others speak to this.
You know, I think just to fill you in, you know, with the housing plan and the thoughts of what the governor wants to do, it was a good time to sort of go back and look at our mission statements and see, as we talked about, you know how we want to achieve our missions and what we want to do, whether we need to kind of refresh it a little bit. And our board, being the excellent board that it is, like took that to heart, kind of looked at it. We had a nice, robust discussion here and we made some changes and decided that it made sense to sort of take it back, not get it kind of approved at the last board.
Right.
And we would make some changes, get that around to everyone, give everyone another chance to look-see.
Good.
And so now we have it in front of you.
Thanks, Diana, and thanks for helping me out selfishly, since I missed the discussion. How's it looking?
I'm glad I'm wearing my glasses.
It's fine print.
But yeah, I mean, I think the reference to MWBE goals is pretty standard stuff. We referenced geographic diversity, however, and I'm wondering, in terms of this is 2023. I think it's certainly about time that when we're talking about diversity, we're also talking about racial diversity. We're talking about those kinds of goals, even though I know it's the state of New York mortgage agency, but the overall mission of New York state government, which I would hope is true for the city of New York as well, is to address those kinds of concerns. I'm not quite sure where those words could go in, but if we're talking about geographic diversity, why can't we also be speaking about just general population diversity? Without having to get into a lot of verbiage and language, something like a diversity that reflects, that reflects the diversity of the population of the state of New York.
I would look at item. I think we picked that up in item number 6.
Okay.
I know we added some specific words here.
I see that.
And this is on the procurement side.
Mm-hmm. No, I referenced that. I said I saw that.
Well, do you want to suggest, if there's other sort of, where would you want to put that and how do you want to write it? We can do some redlining.
And I don't want to put you on the spot.
Oh yeah, you can also email us.
No. As I said, I think the language, and we can figure out where to put it. The diversity that reflect initiatives that the overall goal, if you will, of the SONYMA is to engage in initiatives that reflect the diversity of the population of the state of New York.
I think we could fit that in the second box there.
Okay.
Means to achieve the mission. Mm-hmm. See, towards the end, it's critical we implement policies and target our resources to address these imbalances while providing safe and affordable home ownership opportunities. Ding, ding, there's a little opening right there, Diana, right, for words to...
Where are you?
Means to achieve, I'm looking at SONYMA. I'm sorry, I'm looking at the electronic version.
I know.
You're right in here somewhere. You see where it says, it is also essential we continue to leverage our position to create and expand meaningful economic opportunities for minority women businesses. That's the procurement part. But in front of the procurement part is a broader concept around,
It is critical, that sentence?
Yeah, right. We say it's critical, it's essential. And I think in between the two, Wallace's concept here, which I think we all
I know we all share, is this notion of ensuring that we allocate resources
You have it in two.
to advance, to create an economic opportunity that's inclusive
I
and
guess
serves all the diverse.
there's another sentence in here, and I'm just wondering whether we have it. Sunny may recognize the inequities and impediments facing communities of color across New York State. So
Good.
Number 2, under measurements, it talks about geographic.
Yeah, I think that's maybe where you picked it up, but I think,
Geographic diversity of
Then it's-
mortgages purchased, as well as the number of geographic diversity of participating originators, because that speaks to the geography.
Oh, I see. Yeah. That's what Wallace was.
Yeah, I mean, geographic diversity is great.
what I hear you, but what I would suggest is I don't know if Alex wants to weigh in on this, because we did a bit of thinking of it, because I want you to be comfortable. Do you want to tell me what you want to say here? We could look at it as opposed to sort of doing this in a group thing.
No,
here.
I think I pretty much, I'll leave it to you to wordsmith it. The concept I'm trying to get across.
I get it. Let's do that. In the interest of time, let's do another, we have 3 more weeks, we're going to meet again.
Yeah.
Let's give the team time
Okay.
to
That's fine.
So this
to
on the
work in
Sunny
a
May.
couple more sentences around these comments, including, for example, the notion that geographic diversity sounds kind of limiting. We could say geographic and, also,
Social diversity.
right, and ethnic and racial, and, in other words.
Well, it's beyond that, isn't it? Gay and lesbian,
Yeah,
handicapped people. I mean, there's a lot of discrimination out there.
That's
Not just
why.
But okay, racial discrimination is the primary focus that I'm talking about. And yes, there's all those other items, but the history of this country, for God's sake, okay, is founded on issues not with respect to diversity issues involving anything handicapped, differently abled people.
Right.
I'm talking about, and I just have to be as clear as possible. You can do with it what you wish, but I'm not just talking about all these other things because it gets lumped in, and then guess what? At the end of the day, the racial diversity thing becomes just part of it that gets diluted into an overall program, and that's not why I'm here, that's for sure.
Yeah, no, Mr. Ford, I get your point. So let's take this back.
Work with that.
We'll work with that.
Bring it
And we'll
back.
come back. So this is on the Sunny May mission statement. I would ask for the board members for the HFA and affordable housing, if we have any further comments there, any concerns. Look, we'll take this back.
Okay, I appreciate it.
Yeah,
Thank
we'll do something here.
And I just say,
So
when you
let's-
do look at it, Diana, and you look at the HFA, the other mission statements, they can follow on, right? The
Perfect.
concepts that you work into this, you can work across those. And let's take a look let's work on it some more. It's worth spending more time to get it right.
I like people getting people's comments and making them
Yeah,
happy.
and we'll bring it
Could I-
back.
Okay.
B, what? Sorry.
So, no, I brought up the idea of including some of the major renewable initiatives of the state of New York as part of our mission statement, because so much of it has to do with what gets built and how it gets built. And I see that it's incorporated in HFC and HFA, but I didn't really pull it out of SONYMA, and maybe it doesn't need to be there. But it's that consistency, right, that you were just
Yeah,
talking about.
I think that's a great catch, B. And in as much as we want to make sure a message of diversity, equity, inclusion is embedded in the mission of all 3, I mean, we should also, to that point, be consistent in a commitment to the environmental goals you just talked about.
I guess I just.
Again, just the theme here is
Let me think about
consistency,
that.
right?
Yeah, let me just sort of think about that, because I don't know that we get into that when we're making mortgages. When we're looking really at credit worthiness. And
There's a way to say it high level that makes the point.
Okay, got it.
To B's point about being consistent. Okay, let's see what else we have. Thank you for that, Diana, for helping us with that, and we look forward to looking at a new version or revised version of this next month. Now, I think we're up to what, 11?
10?
Yes, 11. We have MIF.
10.
I'm Alex. Hi.
10
Good
Van.
morning. How are you?
Good. Sorry, guys. I didn't want to interrupt, but Diana, on the item earlier that Sadie recused herself, we need her vote in order to have a, be able to vote on the item. We need the 6 votes. So I think what we've done before is we're going to accept her vote because her vote under our guidance is required to meet the affirmative vote, and she is voting with the majority. That's one. All the other members voted unanimously, and that's second. And the third, without allowing her vote, we wouldn't be able to move on an item that we need to move on. So as in the past, since all 3 conditions are met, we will accept her vote. That was for, I think, Silo.
Yeah, part 3.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, Silo, our least favorite project.
That'll be the same for the legacy cities,
Yeah.
Alex?
Yeah.
Alex, and then just as a preview, when we get to legacy cities under HTFC, we'll do the same thing. Thank you, Alex.
Exactly.
Sadie's been overruled. Okay, let's go to 11, MIF activity reports. These are informational items in the board materials for January 2023. Thank you, Mike, for that. Number 12, current agency procurements in the lobbying law restricted period. Be always aware of that. And that's it. Being no further business for SONYMA. Diana will ask for motion seconds to adjourn the SONYMA meeting, and then some of us will stick around to finish out a couple other things.
Right.
For
Assuming the first and second previously entered for SONYMA, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The motion is carried. The meeting is adjourned. Our next SONYMA board is going to be Thursday, March 9th,
right.
Not the 16th. Alex always puts things in here, make sure we're reading this. So we got it, Alex. Thank you. March 9th, and now the SONYMA board members are free to enjoy
the rest of the
spring
day
day in February.
Yeah. All right. Enjoy. All right. Thanks, everybody. James. Thank you. Thanks for coming in, enduring the long trip.
I'll be back because I got to do it for yes. I know we've been trying to get together.
I'm going to take a quick break. I'll be back.
No, I didn't know it asked for dates, but I speak with so she said she's going to try and set this up because it's been a while.
Yeah.
So, but soon is fine.
Okay.
I think it's going to be the best bet.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, very exciting. Just be nice to nice everybody. All right, everybody. Those of us that remain, we got to carry on. We're going to move to items to be considered by the Housing Trust Fund Corporation. These items are found in the Housing Trust Fund Corporation Board Book. Number 1, first item on the agenda is transcript of the board committee meetings held on January 26, 2023. Transcript shall be deemed approved. Absent corrections from members and directors. Diana, do you hear anybody shouting out corrections for the minutes of January 26th? I don't. Okay. Number 2, authorization of a Legacies Access Program Award for the Rural Ulster Preservation Company. And who's presenting this?
This would either be Dina or Madeline. Or
Maybe Madeline.
Yeah.
Oh, Maddie. There she is.
In the Albany office.
Sorry, you guys.
I'm looking around for you behind over my shoulder, and she's not here. She's in Albany. Okay.
Hi, everybody. Okay, I'll make this super quick, hopefully. This is the second Legacy City Access project proposed in the city of Kingston, so we're excited about all the activity there. RUPCO is a well-known nonprofit housing organization that is based in Kingston, and they have planned for the rehab of 10 vacant homes that are currently owned by the city of Kingston, with a total of 14 affordable housing units. So 4 of the homes will be duplexes. As with other projects in this program, up to $150,000 a unit is available for home ownership, for households earning up to 80% AMI. This project has a total development cost of about $6.6 million, and funding from Legacy City will be just over $2 million. So just about a third or so of the funding. CPC will invest just over $1 million in a construction loan, and there are some other funds coming into this project from other sources. The City of Kingston has ARPA funds that it will invest. Bon Secours, which is a health and hospital organization that has formed an HTFC to invest in affordable housing, is going to be investing quite a few dollars to assist with the rehab, as well as the local Novo Foundation, which is Kingston-based and formed by one of the Buffett children, and they do a lot of investing in community and affordable housing in the city of Kingston. Because the developer here is a nonprofit, and because Legacy City really is focused on creating BIPOC business opportunities as well as homeownership opportunities. We have set a minimum MWBE participation standard of 35%, which is well above the 20% that would be required under our state guidelines. But we've really set a goal of 50%. So they're going to really try to hit 50%. In addition to that goal, the Ulster County Youth Build Program will be building one of the 10 homes, and they are a group that's focused on, alternative career pathways for 16 to 24-year-olds. So building trade training, which is great. Since Kingston's home prices have escalated more steeply than almost anywhere in the state throughout the pandemic, this is particularly important to make sure residents who are currently living in the city of Kingston have access to home buying opportunities and access, to opportunities that avoid displacement, which is a real intense issue there right now. Even rental vacancy is, I think, well below 5% at this point. The sale prices are between $141,000 and $183,000, which is actually affordable to just over 50% AMI generally, so well below our 80% AMI cap. And those prices also reflect a discount to market between $100,000 and $200,000, depending on the home size. So we're really able to offer something that is truly affordable in this market. As a result, we recommend authorizing the authorization, and the resolution rather, and I'm happy to answer questions.
Madeline, thank you very much. Anybody have any questions for Madeline on this important project in Kingston? Great photographs, by the way, of all the buildings.
Check your rehab box.
Yeah, really. Yeah, here's some more rehab. I like this.
Lots
Plenty of rehab, yeah.
Plenty of rehab.
I just want to say hats off to the land bank in Kingston. They've been really terrific.
Great. Good to know. That's great.
Okay.
Let's do it.
Now before the HTFC members is a resolution authorizing a Legacy City Access Program award for the Rural Ulster Preservation Company. Assuming the first and second previously entered for the HTFC board, all in favor, please say aye.
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 We're going to note here, Alex on Sadie, she wants to be recused, but we need her for the quorum in order to do the vote. So whatever your magic language was there.
We'll take care.
We'll
do
take
that.
care. Right. Okay. The motion is carried and the resolution adopted.
Great. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Diana. Number 3 is an authorization of another Legacy City Access Program award for home headquarters.
That's right. Thank you. No, this is Burke Blackman. I'm here with Madeline.
Oh, Burke.
in Albany.
Another Albany. Great.
Yep. And so Madeline had the second project in Kingston. I have the second Legacy City project here in Syracuse. This is a request for just under $2 million in funding from the Legacy City Access Program for a development being led by nonprofit Home Headquarters. 8 vacant homes in Syracuse's Southside neighborhood will be renovated as first-time home buyer opportunities at 80% AMI and below, including 5 accessory rental units for a total of 13 housing units. These will be full rehabs with all electric systems and Energy Star appliances. The 8 addresses are located in designated neighborhood revitalization strategy areas by the city of Syracuse and in proximity to 19 new construction homes being completed by Home Headquarters in the South Side as part of the city's Resurgent Neighborhoods initiative. Home Headquarters here is engaging 2 MBE certified general contractors for the construction, TKTD General Contracting and Denai Inc. These firms have worked with Home Headquarters to complete previous homebuyer rehabs in Syracuse. Home Headquarters Neighbor Works Homeownership Center will be providing the home ownership counseling to purchasers, and as a CDFI, Home Headquarters is also able to offer first mortgage financing for purchasers. TDC here is just over $3 million. The Legacy City subsidy averages just under $150,000 per unit within our program limits. Home Headquarters will be funding the non-subsidy portion of development costs, so about $1.1 million with their cash equity and deferred developer fee, and they'll recoup this amount from sales proceeds as the homes are sold. So on this Legacy City deal, there is no private construction loan, including in the financing. The Legacy City funding will be provided as a direct construction loan from HTFC, with A&E overseeing the construction monitoring. HTFC's loan will be discharged incrementally as the home buyers assume a second lien at purchase to ensure the affordability. Sales prices are set at $125,000 for the single-family homes and $150,000 for the two families, with average affordability below 60% AMI. So we're excited about this project, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
I was going to say it's really nice to see the linkage with the Give Us Credit program and how it's linking together two portions of the agency to really help address need, especially racial wealth gap in Syracuse.
Yeah, thanks, James. Great.
And I would just thank you guys because both of these are small unit projects, but they're incredibly impactful. And I know they have a lot of elements all stepped into them. So thanks on these. They're great.
Yeah, I would underscore that great work on Madeline and Bert's part on all these deals. They're really tough, really tough, but they're great. And it's nice to see one without financing. I can vote.
Okay.
Right. Well, let's do
it.
Let's do that. So let's
Okay.
take a cue from Sadie, Diana.
Now before the HTFC members is a resolution authorizing a Legacy City Access Program Award for the home headquarters. Assuming the first and second previously entered for the HTFC board, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The motion is carried and the resolution adopted.
Great. Thank you very much. Thanks, everybody. We're going to get Crystal to the telephone or microphone or something to do number 4, authorization of community development block grant economic development awards, item 4 in our book. Good morning.
Good morning. Hi.
Hi.
As you know, HCR makes CDBG funding available on an open round basis to support economic development activities. These grants are awarded to units of local government that then provide the grant assistance to businesses in exchange for a commitment of job creation for low and moderate income individuals. This month, OCR is requesting approval to award $870,000 in CDBG funding to support 2 businesses. This CDBG investment is expected to leverage over $1.9 million in private investment and support creation of more than 50 jobs. The Office of Community Renewal is requesting board approval to award CDBG funds and enter into grant agreements with the City of North Tonawanda to support Micro Art Services USA, which manufactures electronics equipment and circuit boards, and to the Village of Curious Joel to support a kosher poultry processing plant. Full details are in the memo and briefing sheets, and I'm happy to answer any questions from the board members.
Hearing none,
Okay.
I think we're good. Thanks, Crystal.
Now before the HTFC members is a resolution authorizing community development block grant economic development awards. Assuming the first and second previously entered for the HTFC board, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The motion is carried and the resolution adopted.
Terrific. Let's go to number 5 and ask Crystal to hold on to that microphone. Authorization for an amendment to the Community Development Block Grant CARES Act Award for Ability Partners. Back to you.
We are requesting board approval for an amendment to the existing CARES Award for Ability Partners. It's purely an administrative adjustment. Last month, we made the award to Ability Partners, which is actually just the affiliate organization name. The awardee name needs to be changed to United Cerebral Palsy Association of the Rochester area. The full details and change are described in the board memo, but I'm happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Don't hear too many questions.
Okay.
Thanks to the clarity of your presentation and the great write-up. Let's do it.
Now before the HTFC members is a resolution authorizing an amendment to the Community Development Block Grant CARES Act Award for Ability Partners. Assuming the first and second previously entered for the HTFC board, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The motion is carried and the resolution adopted.
You know, Diana, let's just go to number 6 because it follows 5. Authorization for an amendment to Downtown Revitalization Initiative Award for the Gloversville Theater Corporation. Crystal, you're going to have to remind us about the Gloversville Theater Corporation. What's going on here?
Well, similarly, this is an amendment request for some clerical errors. We just awarded the round 5 DRI contract in the January board meeting, but following the meeting, 2 adjustments were identified. We're requesting board approval to adjust the identified awardee to the City of Gloversville instead of the Gloversville Theater Company. Same project, different contract holder, and a very small award increase related to a clerical error. The details are in the memo, but I'm happy to answer any questions if you have any.
as long as the Gloversville Theater gets its enhancements, this will work out.
Okay.
We don't want the actors and directors of the Gloversville Theater at our next meeting protesting our actions. So, Dinah, let's fix this.
Now before the HFC members is a resolution authorizing an amendment to the Downtown Revitalization Initiative Award for the Gloversville Theater Corporation. Assuming the first and second previously entered for the HTFC board, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Motion is carried and the resolution adopted.
Let's go to 7, authorization for award increases for the Weatherization Stimulus Program sub-grantees. And Crystal, thank you for your earlier presentations, but now we turn to Ms. Pierce. Oh, no, we don't. She's right here.
Yeah, I'm right here. Good morning.
Keep looking at the screen. Good morning.
I'll parse it now. Similar to Crystal's last two action items, I'm asking authorization from the board to amend an existing weatherization stimulus program contract through our ARPA award that was made in July 2021 with the board. We're asking for a resolution or authorization to allocate a remaining $2 million of the contract to existing agencies that requested contingency funding to ensure they can complete their projects, as well as authorization to extend the contracts based on an update from our OTDA MOU that allows us to extend the contract to June 30th, 2023. If you have any other questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Any questions? All right, good. Let's get some more money out there and do some more weatherization.
Okay.
Diana?
Now before the HFC members is a resolution authorizing award increases for weatherization stimulus program sub-grantees, assuming the first and second previously entered for the HTFC board. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The motion is carried and the resolution adopted.
Good, thank you very much. Now at this point, I want to suggest you all go get coffee or something because it's just me and Diana reading stuff. Number 8, authorization for legal service contracts. Diana, do that one.
Okay, so what this is HFA issued a request for proposals on August 24th, 2012 to establish a pre-qualified panel of outside law firms to represent HFA and its affiliates, relying on HFA's solicitation process and in accordance with the HTFC procurement and contract guidelines. HTFC created a pre-qualified list of law firms for the provision of legal services. As part of the required annual review and recertification of the legal services panel, the staff has given consideration as to the appropriateness and effectiveness of renewing the competitive selection process for contracts on HTFC's panel and anticipates issuing a new solicitation for legal services this spring. HTFC staff expects to present a new panel of law firms to the members for approval at the June or July meeting. With that in mind, we are requesting authorization of legal services contracts with the law firms on the HFC panels until July 28th, 2023. We did the same thing for the other entities here, and this is just to kind of knit and tie this together.
Great.
Okay?
Yes, I think it's fine. Let's do
Now before the HFC members is a resolution authorizing legal services contracts, assuming the first and second previously entered for the HTFC board. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The motion is carried and the resolution adopted.
Good. That's good to have that consistency, right?
Yes,
We're trying to get
absolutely.
across. The remainder of the agenda items this morning are informational. There will be no presentations
Well, I think,
unless.
item 9, authorization of amendments to the bylaws.
Oh,
Item 9.
sorry,
You went a little
we need
fast.
to do
I
that.
know, I'm
We
paying
just
attention.
can't, we need to give you a chance to,
Right.
So
So-
item 9, let's go back, because we just did, I'm sorry, 8 was legal service contracts. 9 is authorization of amendments to the bylaws of the Housing Trust Fund Corporation. What's going on, Diana?
Okay, we are proposing amendments to the HFC bylaws are being proposed to reflect the sunsetting of the Governor's Office of Storm Recovery and the creation of the Office of Resilient Homes and Communities, RHC. The president of the Office of Single Family and Community Development will have oversight of RHC, and the president and vice president of RHC will be added to HTFC's list of officers. RHC will be included in the internal audit conducted by DHCR. A full summary of proposed amendments has been included in the memo for this item, and the red line proposed amended bylaws of HTFC have been annexed to that memo. Anyone want
So
to
this
play?
was as a result of the budget last year. The office was made permanent, so now that it's not just sort of a governor's office of a temporary thing, it's now formally part of HTFC in a more permanent way, and then we renamed it to reflect its mission.
Will it sort of, it's an admission by the state that storm recovery never ends? unfortunately, right?
Yeah.
That there are going to be resources needed to
I mean, they're
allocate.
winding down Sandy, but they're working on Ida.
Right.
The Bond Act is coming, which has a lot of resiliency work in it, so there will be a long-term need for
Hurricane
the
season will
skills.
be here before we know.
And will the Gosser staff, I mean, Gosser staff were already part of an affiliated agency. What happens to the team?
So they are going to continue their sort of natural downsizing, a result of the Sandy grant winding down. The Sandy grant was a $4
federal
billion grant, so
Right.
so as that winds down, a lot of those people who are all hired with a temporary sort of situation. And then we're working on having sort of a core set of state-funded staff, and then we have IDA staff will be funded by the IDA line, and as other grant funding comes along, staff will continue to get funded by those resources.
How many people is it?
Right now, it's about 200? 239.
Got room from here, or they stay downtown?
We're talking about that.
All in process.
Excellent. Good. Well, very.
Okay, so let me just take.
But we have to vote. Do we have to?
Yes,
You have
now
a proposal
before the
to-
HTF, yeah, because we need to amend the bylaws.
Got it.
You know, little detail here. Now before the HTFC members, the resolution authorizing amendments to the bylaws of the Housing Trust Fund Corporation. Assuming the first and second previously entered for the HTFC board, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The motion is carried and the resolution adopted.
Shame on me for almost skipping over that one, Diana.
You and Alex, you guys don't make sure that we're reading this. I got it.
Yeah, you know, you gotta fix
I'm
my
on
reading. Thank you for putting the brakes on that. So let's go to the remainder of the items on today's agenda, which are informational, as I mentioned a moment ago. No presentations about them unless requested by members. Of course, members are always free to ask questions. 10 is a review of our seeker concur summaries. 11, a review of type 2 seeker summaries. And 12, a review of agency procurements and contracts in the lobbying restricted period, which we always need to do. We have to have a little discussion in executive session. My apologies to members of the public. And Diana is going to take the required actions for us to do that.
Right. I'm going to ask for a motion and a second to go into executive session pursuant to section 105D of the Open Meetings Law to discuss proposed litigation.
Right.
Assuming the first and seconds previously entered for all the agencies, those in favor of going into executive session, please signify by saying aye.
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 Okay, so I would ask board members.
We stay, staff, everybody else has to go, right?
Yeah, but just, there's only certain staff. I need Amy, Krishna, Katie. I don't think, yeah, Lauren. I'm tossing you out, Debia. Okay, I'm going to ask for motions to adjourn the meetings. Assuming the first and second previously entered for the HFA.
No, you have to reconvene the public.
We have to go.
Yeah.
I asked.
Yeah, you gotta let Lillian turn the recorder back on.
We have to go public again.
Okay, go ahead. Lillian?
Lillian, see who wants to come.
Recording.
All right, turn on the
Okay.
cameras, turn on the lights.
Okay, I
Back
ask
public.
I ask for a motion and a second to reconvene the public section. Not yet?
No, go ahead. Yep.
So moved.
Okay, motion, second?
Second.
We are back in
Second.
public session. No votes were
Thanks,
taken
Bea.
in executive session.
Nothing happened, it was boring.
It was boring.
No, it's staying. That's what you said that for the public. There being no further business for HFA, HTFC, AHC boards, Diana will kindly ask for motions and seconds to adjourn this morning's meetings, please.
Assuming the first and second previously entered for the HFA, HTFC, AHC boards, all in favor of adjourning, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The motions are carried, the meetings are adjourned. And again, just a reminder, next meeting, Thursday, March 9.
Yep.
All right.
Thank you.
9 a.m.
Thank you,
all.
Bea.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, guys in Albany.
Take care.
Thanks, everybody. Ruth Ann, Diana, team. There we go.
Start on this one off too. So can I tell that Wallace sort of